Welcome to Transformation with Laota Rasul and Ahad Rasul. In this program, you will activate the changes that need to be made in your life through the processes of cleaning, clearing, and reconnection with your own divinity. It's time to begin the process to heal yourself. Now, here are your hosts, Laota and Ahad Rasul.
Good morning, family, and welcome to another episode of Transformations with Laota Rasul. This is Ahad Rasul speaking. I'm your co-host. Now, the topic for today's show is DNA activation. DNA activation is something that is very near and dear to our hearts here at DNA Replicate because we use it as a platform and a base to help everyone who comes to us with starting their spiritual journey. So we expect that as each person goes along and pursues their spiritual journey, that our DNA reconnection and activation therapy will give them a boost in the right direction. Will start them off heading the right way. So we're going to get into this in a very interesting way, should I say. Now, to introduce the person you guys are all here to speak to, to hear from, Miss Laota Rasul in Lakesh. Good morning.
In Lakesh, Ahad, and in Lakesh, our listening family, and thank you, Voice America. We're very happy to be here today, and we're happy to have all of our family here listening, and those who are new to us. Welcome. Today, our conversation about DNA is very interesting. So often you hear people say, well, there's no such thing as a coincidence. But in fact, the reality is that this is an incident which we are all co-creating. You have arrived here at this particular time, and I have arrived here, and Ahad is in another city than where I am. We have all co-created this incident. So this is a co-incident. We are working together to have this experience today. And the discussion about DNA is one that we could talk about quite a bit. But one of the things I want to begin by saying is that we live in a time where, until very recently, when a person went into the hospital to have something done, if it was a female and they had surgery, they would remove their appendix or remove their uterus because our science couldn't identify what they were for. Or sometimes the same thing happens with our tonsils. So it is in that same idea with our DNA. Our scientists are saying that you have 2 double helix strands of DNA and that the rest is all junk. The other 10 strands are junk. So we recognize that there is greater intelligence than that level of intelligence. And we know that more than 90% of the quantum energy and instructions that we need, and which can define sacred life, are set up in our DNA, in the Akashic history of our DNA, in the divinity within the human being. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today, the idea of restoring ourselves to our original blueprint and bringing back those 10 energetic strands that we were disconnected from. So at DNA Replicate, this is one of the very first steps. We have spiritual consultations, and then we usually recommend DNA or soul clearings for people based on our assessments, our spiritual assessments of what would work best for them. And we want to talk a little bit about how and what DNA means. So first of all, I want to share that DNA is catalytic energy, and it arrives and it changes what is around it. It is a single source, 100 trillion pieces of chemistry all singing the same song. There's nothing else that does this. DNA is mastery over duality and awareness at the soul level. Now, in science, DNA is considered self-replicating material that's present in nearly all living organisms, and it is a main constituent of the chromosomes and a carrier of genetic information. But we know that there's more than that going on, and that DNA actually connects us or allows us to experience the coding that's coming in from the greater galactic center. The resonance of our DNA reconnection alters us in a very harmonious way, and it heightens our ability to be in connection with the greater Earth experience as well as the greater galactic center. We are able to do this through our endocrine systems because they are resurrected or resuscitated during this process. And many people have amazing experiences when they have their DNA done because the dormant genetic material that's being resuscitated starts to become alert and their gifts start to open. And the original design of the human being becomes more available to us. And everyone's having different experiences. People have different experiences at different times, but we've heard amazing things, not only during the process of DNA, but in the weeks, months, and even years that follow.
And actually,
Go ahead.
I'd like to say that anyone who's in the listening to the show right now, if you have had DNA done, had your DNA activated, whether it was with us, which is preferred, of course, feel free to call in and share with the listening audience your experience. You know, maybe what attracted you to DNA and what you experienced after DNA, during DNA, whatever it might be, because we'd like to bridge this gap from someone hearing about something to actually understanding or having some perspective on what their experience will be and why it's relevant to do, why it's something that will be good for them to actually take the step, take the leap of faith and actually do it, and not just, you know, oh, that's another good thing that might be good, but that's for someone else, not me, type thing.
Many people are, and I know it was my experience too, of living in lower energies, you know, kind of being stuck in survival mode. And when you're stuck in survival mode, you're not able to pay attention to the subtleties of your own energy field and of others and of the earth itself. So this idea of being stuck or of suffering is something that most of humanity is quite familiar with. And the very real kinds of experiences that you can have after having had your DNA connected are strengthening, where you're not only physical strengthening, where your immune system actually works better, but there's this spiritual strengthening of being connected in a time when you may have felt during the struggle or during the time when you were stuck, you may have felt as if you were weak and couldn't work against the forces of our experience, of our human experience. There's also the idea that because you become stronger, because your immune system works better, there's a greater opportunity for life expectancy to be longer. There's opportunities in the reorganization of how your body starts to work. Along with we encourage people to have DNA. We also encourage them to everyone to have soul clearings because it reorganizes your systems so that if you have been depressed or sad or unhappy or struggling and suffering, this can be cleared away and reorganized through the process of DNA as well as the soul clearings to help you operate in a higher way, a higher vibrational and a higher frequency way, which automatically is more efficient. And in the efficiency, we replicate what happens in the universe. There's no waste, and everything is done without any hesitation or without any drag.
You know,
so go ahead.
We a lot of times when clients come to us, one of the biggest things that we hear is that, you know, I'm living my life and I know that there's more for me here. I'm supposed to be doing more. I'm capable of more. There's another side of me that I'm not experiencing being fulfilled in my everyday life that's pulling at me. And it's making me feel as though I need to be seeking out more, that there's something bigger out there. And we hear that oftentimes. So for one reason or another, it causes uncomfortabilities with people in their everyday lives because they know that this isn't it. And you start to not mix well because you start to seek out knowledge and information and things. However, we hear this from our clients and our guests that come to us. And DNA activation is the opportunity, which I heard you speaking about before, for us to connect with what's bigger than us, to connect with the universe, connect with the earth that we live on, that we're a part of and that we're from. And from my understanding, it gives us the ability to tap into more of ourselves. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. Not only do we tap into more of ourselves, it frees us from all the things that we've been taught in our culture for hundreds and hundreds of years, and what our parents were taught and what our grandparents were taught. And our whole lineage was taught that we were sinners, that we had original sin, and that we were already guilty when we were born. And this frees us from that concept, which is enormous, to be free of the overlay of the lineage of all of the generations of original sin. That really, this brings us to original innocence, where it brings us back to knowing that we were always innocent, that we came here for very specific reasons to help others, and that in fact, we're the healers that are here to help everyone. And this idea that, you're already a sinner, you need to suffer, and that if you suffer, there's some kind of sacredness in that, and that you can hold yourself up as a saint because you suffered. All of that is not congruent with the way the universe is designed. It's not congruent with the truth, and it's certainly not congruent with the idea that humans were made and somehow flawed. When, the lions are not flawed, the flowers are not flawed, the mosquitoes are not flawed. Why were we flawed?
And they're not flawed because they're just here being themselves. And we, for some reason, aren't comfortable with the fact of who we are, really, and that we're here to be ourselves and live our personal journeys.
Well, yes and no. Yes, that we are all of that, but we have been told something different. And that sets up a dynamic of confusion and much mass depression and unhappiness with each other, and all of this because one person feels like another person's better, when in fact all of us are better. We're all better, greater, more wonderful, innocent, spectacular. We're all God. We're all divine. We're all able to do it. So they're all of the it's like poverty. These are all man-made concepts.
It sounds like the whole world needs DNA activation, the condition that we're in right now.
Well, that's the plan, to free us. The DNA is being done and has been done since the early 90s. The galactic alignment made it possible after the harmonic convergence for this information to start coming to us through channels. And in the early days when this was happening, many of us, and I was one of them, we were activating our own DNA and we were going through processes. It took like a year for us to resuscitate our endocrine systems and to work on our pituitaries and our hypothalamus and our pineal glands. And we were eating certain things and doing certain mantras and all kinds of things. And I remember having gotten mine up and going, and a friend of mine, and then after about 3 months, I could feel the disconnection. So that's because it wasn't always possible on the scale that it's possible now. And in the ensuing years, it has become much more available because many more people have done it. So as the mass consciousness accepts this idea, now we hear about DNA all the time. We've been doing it at DNA Replicate since 2011, and more people have grown to understand the benefits of this and have been able to move towards it. So now it's easier. People's DNA is more effectively connected. The way we do it in a group session where we use the energy of the group. And I'm not aware of any other system that does it that way, but there are many systems available. There are systems through music, through toning. There's all kinds of systems available. We work with the Elohim, which is a divine group that brings in intergalactic DNA engineers. And we do this in a 1-hour session. And we do it on Wednesday nights, every Wednesday night. and it takes 1 hour. People call up from all over the world, people who have babies who are sleeping, or people who are elderly in hospice who are not aware that it's being done. And we're able to take care of all of that because the telephone has nothing to do with the agreement to reconnect DNA. And everyone has very visceral experiences, and though some lesser, some more. Everyone is different. Everyone's relationship with energy is different. But this is a spectacular blessing and a wonderful experience for us to have. However, I do want to make sure I say that the indigenous healers, the shamans of old, and the indigenous healers all over the world have always known about this. They've always known about connecting the divinity within humans to reconnect them, their DNA, to reconnect them to the earth grid and to the galactic center. So we didn't know that the early healers, our shamans of this planet for thousands of years, were really quantum physicists who all now agree that everything is connected. And we are at the point where what happens is that the humans who have the mass consciousness that have not become aware of this and who have been told all the same things about having original sin are now beginning to hear and break through in this time of change that we're living in. We're able now to bring through this information that it is possible for you and your children and your lineage to be connected through you, so that everyone can be increased, that everything can be expanded. If there were one word to describe DNA, I would say it's all about expansion. That when your DNA is connected, whatever you feel, whatever level you're at, whatever your experience is, you are better able to expand. You're better able to reach beyond the boundaries of normal fourth dimensional experience.
Now, looks like we're coming up upon our first commercial break, so we're going to go ahead and take a moment, take a pause for the calls here. However, for all the listeners, anybody who does want to speak about your experience, you have a question about it or anything, go ahead and call in, and on the other side of the break, we'll go ahead and start taking the calls. Thank you, and we'll be back in just a moment. Greetings, we're back. Okay, so we're speaking about DNA activation, and one thing that I gathered from you, Ms. Lelta, about this DNA activation and the reconnection process is that as we become reconnected to what's actually real, which is our connection to the universe, our divinity, and the earth and nature that we are a part of, it also in turn causes us to almost be separated from the things or the experiences of this dimension, this society, this world as we're living in right now. So I know a lot of times we hear that some of the symptoms of DNA reconnection and activation is that you don't take interest in or aren't as affected by the things that generally would affect you, whether it's TV and the news and the music and all the other things that kind of grab your attention in one way or another, whether it has a positive or negative effect on you, that we're no longer so connected to these things and we're no longer so drawn to them. Is that accurate?
That is very accurate. That especially the third and fourth dimensional activities, like the idea of image, where we're always looking at ourselves to make ourselves more attractive to, in every way, not just physically, in every way, to what the masses of other people will like. We think about all the people who are wanting to be on television, so they're making themselves carbon copies of other people on television so that they can be thought of in the same way and held in the same regard. So, these kinds of things start to fall away from you. The idea of judgment, looking at everyone, looking at your neighbors to see if they have more than you have, or they make more money, or they drive a better car. Those kinds of ideas start to fall away, as well as your choices in food. And often I hear people say that, television has become, instead of wonderful entertainment, something that they use less and less because of it's kind of an irritant. And not only is it an irritant, but the commercials, it seems to be owned by the pharmaceutical companies now. So,
Yeah.
so
Well, and
not
it looks
only
like
that.
we have a few callers lined up. So if you don't mind, we're gonna go ahead and take we'll take one. We'll take Miss Roxanne from California. Roxanne, are you there?
I am in Lakesh.
And Lakesh,
Lakesh.
Roxanne, nice to hear from you.
Wonderful to hear both of you. I've been tuning in the last few weeks, and it's been incredible. So I just want to say thank you for all the work that you all done.
Roxanne,
So, yes. Can you
it
hear me?
sounds like there's something in your background that I can hear.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I just got on a flight. I'm headed to Hawaii. Hold
Oh,
on.
okay. Go ahead and say your piece then. That's fine. Go ahead.
Maybe that'll help a little bit. But my partner just asked me. She's like, "Well, do you feel like it makes a difference?" And all I could tell her was absolutely. But I can't tell you one thing that has made the biggest difference for me because going through the protocol, because I wanted DNA activation long before I was 100% ready mentally. But I was like, you have to do this. You have to do this. And then once I began the process, that's when I learned there were a few things that I needed to do first to make it much more effective, like the advanced soul clearings, so there were some other steps that I was like, I just want my DNA connected, it was like really feeling all impatient, but being really grateful that I was guided through the process so it could be the most beneficial. So when I look back at the last year of my life, I can't point to one single thing. I'm so excited right now to be headed back to Hawaii and being able to really embrace the whole Pono. It's like a whole nother experience.
That's authentic experience right there. You're going.
Yes. So 8 years ago, I didn't know about it. So it's like I'm going back with this whole different vibration now. And all I could say is, the people in my life now, I know they're getting a different me that I've never known before, so no one else has ever experienced before either, and that just makes such a difference for me. So anyone that's sitting on the fence or wondering, and I came back to a job a year and 4 months ago, and I thought December of last year would have been the end of the temporary assignment. But now I'm so grateful that the temporary assignment was not just 3 or 4 months, but a year and 3 or 4 months, because I'm leaving that job again this December. And all I can say is being able to go back and afford to take care of me on a spiritual level, that's like the biggest reward. So I just really want to give thanks and just show appreciation, for all the work that you guys have done. So.
Well, thank you so much for calling in. We so appreciate your generosity of spirit to share with us your elevation in this. And I'm really glad that you called, because it allows me to bring forth the idea of, I'm going to ask you to disconnect, though, because it's so noisy in your background. But I'm going to speak to some of the things you said. Okay. Thank you, Roxanne.
You're welcome.
One of the things that Roxanne was saying is this idea that she knew about it, she wanted to do it, but she was guided really through her own soul promptings to this. And this is something that's very true of everyone, that, we often don't realize that our higher intelligence, or what we often call our higher selves, is really directing us towards the different experiences that we need to have to give us the greater richer, more expanded opportunities to grow and elevate, so that we can grow beyond what the third dimensional consciousness is. And so I think that's very interesting that she brought that up. And then, of course, very foundationally, Ho'oponopono, which is thank you, I love you, please forgive me, I'm sorry, is one of the ways in which we can take responsibility for our own growth and development and keep our own vibrations and frequency high. So she's really hit on all the notes. And I think it's also not unusual that a person might say, well, there's no one thing, but it's kind of like life is just kind of good and I'm feeling blessed and everything is going along. Many people have that same experience. And in my experience, I see this as it being, you become more sovereign, more in charge of what's going on, instead of loose to the wind, so to say. You become strengthened and the things that you're interested in are more easily manifested. So thank you so much again, Roxanne, for calling in and sharing all of those very key points of, that really are very specific to the DNA activations. And we're really happy to have that.
Yes, it felt so good hearing someone who's genuinely experienced something that's affected their lives in that way. And I know from my personal experience, I notice how this has been a part of my life for some time. However, especially with the DNA, I can attribute it specifically to the DNA activation about how I'm interacted with from others, from outside, your everyday person who I, might have been going through life with, my friends, and just people who never met me before. At this point, they interact with me in a way as though they recognize something deeper than what they see on the surface. So when I walk into a place or whatever it may be, if I'm interacting with a person through work or whatever, they treat me as though there's more to me than what I'm presenting through our everyday exchange. And even the way they look at you, even the way they look at you, even the way and I hear you say all the time how you'll notice how babies will look at you differently, will stare at you in long times, or, they seem transfixed with you. And I've noticed that extremely, a lot with babies and even animals. However, even with, your everyday adult, I notice how they interact with you in a way where something's a little different about you. They can't put their finger on it, and it might not even feel the need to say it, but the difference from how your life used to be. And then after that DNA reconnection takes place and you start doing the things that it takes to maintain that or keep that reconnection going and to stay true to what it is that you received, people really interact with you differently. Some of the things, they become more accommodated, just all types of things. It's hard to really put, like Roxanne said, hard to put your finger on one thing exactly. However, it feels great. I can tell you that for sure. And it almost inspires you yourself to continue with your journey because you see a subtle change, and it's from the people who's close to you as well. Your family, a lot of the pesky things or interactions that cause for there to be discomfort between family kind of just falls away a little bit. Things become just a little smoother. And all you have to do is be yourself with it now. All you have to do is enjoy it. And I don't talk so much. We have another caller waiting. Did you have anything to say before I take the next caller?
I just want to make this point that one of the most profound truths that exist in our time is that the divinity is within us. And this is one of those processes that helps us to access it and experience that experience. So that's all I wanted to say.
Yes, ma'am. Look, we have Nataki from Georgia. And Lakesh Nataki.
And Lakesh.
And Lakesh Nataki, happy to hear from you.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be a part of this conversation, and I'm always learning something different and something new regarding transformations. And I wanted to just share a little bit about my experience after having the DNA activation done. I thought that this was, when I heard about DNA activation, I knew nothing about DNA activation, to be honest with you, but it just sounded so in alignment with my divine path. And what it has done for me, as you stated earlier, it really did release me from many of the programs that I have been indoctrinated with all my life. And it gave me a sense of freedom and liberation that is very difficult to explain. When people ask me for what are your plans, what are your goals, what are your plans, and I said, I am okay with not knowing every step, because I've realized that that experience with the DNA activation unplugged me from those programs of needing to know everything, but just really allowing everything to unfold. And it was kind of uncomfortable initially. And then I realized that I began to feel more comfortable with it and more exciting with it. And so now I guess my question is though, how do, because even with TV, I found myself not interested in TV, being programmed. I saw it as a way of being programmed, and I refused to be programmed in that way. I found myself wanting to plug into those higher realms, wanting to plug into a divine source to understand more of what my divine path or how it was leading me. And so now the question is, how do you, when you begin to have those experiences, is almost like it's sort of kind of puts you away from, aside, or kind of different from all the other people that you're accustomed to being around. And so how do you kind of integrate that so that you don't feel so alienated and so apart from everyone else?
That is really great that you spoke about all these different concepts. I want to talk first about the idea that you were saying that at first it was a little uncomfortable, and that's true for many people, that when there's a 360-degree change in your life, then some things are going to be upset a little bit. And for some people, it's a spiritual detox, and they have physical and emotional aspects of it. For some people, it's less, and for others more. But the idea is that that's how you know that this is really working, is that things are changing, and you're moving in the direction that's different than the one that you were in before that you weren't happy with. And then the idea of the idea of television is very interesting, because when you're not ready yet for this process, you feel that if you didn't have television, it would be terrible. You feel like, oh my God, it'll be lack. I'll be missing something. That everyone else will have something and I won't have it. And that's how you feel about it. When you are very congruent with this idea, you recognize that there's brainwashing taking place on many levels, and that many things are very negatively sourced and very negative representations of humanity that are being fed into your psyche during that process. So then you feel relieved that you're not committed to television. So it's very interesting, because it's flip sides of the coin, and it does leave you free. It makes you are the strengthened sovereign one. You are the one that people can come to after they've watched television, and you can help strengthen them after that experience of watching, all of the different language and behavior that we're seeing on television. And you're still free to watch any movie you want to watch at any time, or watch television whenever you want to. But the idea is that you're no longer feeling like you'll be deprived of something. And I think this is a very strengthening position, because this really allows you to stand on your own truth. But even better than that, now you have time to invent things. You have time to solve our problems. You have time to heal people, because you're not spending 6 hours a day in front of the television. So I don't know if that's helpful or not.
And Nataki, one thing that I know is a personal dedication of mine is that I learn how to do exactly what you're asking about, which is be balanced. And because for me, I want to be able to affect and reach out to and bridge this gap for everyday people who aren't generally exposed to this type of thing. And then for the people who are very exposed and very knowledgeable and very involved, to be able to interact with each other in a way where everybody can benefit from each other. So for me, I'm daily concerned with having balance and being able to interact and have a smooth and healthy interaction with all types of people. So one thing I've noticed is that in this pursuit of balance, if we take uh, the example, the tools that we use with Ho'oponopono, and we are these loving, caring, cherishing people, and we do all these things, and we carry ourselves in that light, then the real divine spiritual side of you does not have to be something that we walk around broadcasting. However, we walk around broadcasting what the result of being divine, being in tune with your divine is. We walk around broadcasting what it looks like to be someone who's happy, who's truly peaceful, who's truly in touch with themselves and creation and nature. So the attracting factor is going to be you. The thing that's going to allow people to want to connect with you is going to be you, not what you know or what you're a part of. So as they become attracted to you because of this woman is always happy and peaceful and loving every time I interact with her. I've never heard a negative thing from her. I've never seen her frowning. I've never seen her this, that, and the third. That's the thing that's going to attract someone to you. And then they're going to be seeking to find out, oh, how is this possible? Why? What type of weed is she smoking? What type of, drink is she drinking? What type of this is this and this? That's what they're going to associate it to first. However, as they get to know you, or they come to you, then you have the opportunity to introduce them to, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what's allowed me to be this way. However, that balance factor, that connection to everyday people that you might feel like is kind of not there at times, I think is going to be helped by just allowing for yourself to be that light that shines, allowing for yourself to be that connection, that attracting factor. And remember that you don't have to broadcast what's gotten you there until that person seeks it out. However, who you are is going to broadcast in and of itself. And that's something that DNA does tremendous work with, is allowing us to be the example rather than having to just teach it or talk it. We can be it. And that helps bridge that gap, if that's understandable.
Oh, yes. I get that. Thank you so much.
And I see that in you all the time, Nataki.
Thank you.
Well, we're upon our next break already. So we're going to go ahead and take the break right now. And we have another very funny, exciting, and transformational story for you guys today. So on the other side of the break, we'll introduce that. So we'll be back in a moment. All right, we're back. And we're going to get right into this transformational story that I spoke about on the other side of the break. This transformational story is from Corey. And just so I'm clear, the funny part, what I said is pretty funny, is it's more refreshing, the honesty that we experience when people give us these transformational stories. It puts a smile on my face, because even though we've all gone through, and a lot of people have had experiences that are uncomfortable, the fact that they get to a point where they're open enough and happy enough to be honest about what it is and about their own situation in a way to help others to hear from it is really refreshing. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and start the story.
Welcome, Corey. I'm so happy to have you here with your story of transformation. This is a really miraculous story, and we're really pleased that you're sharing this with the listening audience, because this is the kind of story that may help many people are dealing with. So thank you for being here, Corey.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
So would you start at wherever the beginning is for you and tell us a little bit about how you got to a transformational place?
Okay. It started just over the years. I was attracted to alcohol. I used to drink every day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, toil from the floor up through every day. And it got to the point where I used to have at least about 6, maybe 5 bottles of alcohol in my car. I couldn't do without it. I used to smoke cigarettes as well. That was just as bad. And one day I sat at the park and I was cleaning my car, and I looked in the back of my trunk and I was like, wow, I got 7 balls. And I mean, it was something, I couldn't get away from alcohol. It was just so attractive. I just could not stop. And I sat back there and I looked and I was like, I got to stop this. And at the same time, I took 3 bottles out of the car and I filled them up into 2 bottles. So I ended up with 4 full bottles of alcohol. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. So I think that was on like a Saturday. And that Monday, I was at school and I was doing some research online. And I ran across a site about the Palladians. And they was talking about how we reincarnate, come back and forth. And she said something about we needed to be DNA activated. And I was like, DNA activated? Huh? So I started Googling and started going online and looking and trying to find out as much as I could about DNA activation. And this one particular site I went to, I seen this little black girl on there with an afro. And her name was Marcia. And I was like, wow, DNA activation. So I clicked on the site and listened to her testimony for about 10, 15 minutes. And I started looking at the bottom, and at the bottom it said show all. And I said, I know it's got to be somewhere where I can get this done. And I clicked on the bottom of it, and there was I think it was a phone number. And I called it, and I left a message. And that's when you called me back about 10 minutes later. And you said, well, you can come in next week and do the activation on a Wednesday. I changed my mind the next day and came in and did it that Wednesday. And after that, I never touched alcohol or smoked cigarettes again. I mean, it was like I had been cured. All behind getting DNA activation. I was so blessed because my older and I feel really changed my life. It saved my life, really. And over the course of the time, I've gotten soul clearings. I've gotten other work done that was just fantastic. My life has just been blossoming over the years, over the months. And I'm just hoping that it will continue, which it will. I'm not going back to alcohol. I'm not smoking cigarettes again. That's out of the question. And like I said, I've been improving so much since April of this year up until now. I've had a lot of work done. I've even went through the quantum property clearing and the Akashic records, and I've been studying improvement in my life. I have done so much good. Well, it's done a lot of good for me. I haven't been drinking. I haven't been smoking cigarettes. So that was the bomb. I mean, that was 365 days a year. I had to have alcohol. I had to have. There was not a day went by that I didn't have to have alcohol. I had to have it. It was just one of them things. But I've been so blessed that I've gotten DNA activated and gotten a lot of things done that has helped me grow and keep going. And I'm hoping any and everybody would get DNA activated. They will see the difference in their life. They will move things out of their lives that don't serve a purpose for them. And I'm just hoping that a lot of people would just do it.
Well, Corey, we are so pleased that you decided to share your story. And, you are participating in the quantum light property clearing classes. You're learning how to heal yourself so that you can heal others. And I think many people find themselves in this same situation, so to say, in a rut. And this was a wonderful way to tell them what can happen. And this is not, we haven't heard that everyone has this experience, but it is your experience, and we're happy you shared it. So we're not promising that this is what will happen to everyone, but it has happened to you, and we'd love to hear the story. And is there anything else you want to share with us about your experience with DNAReplicate.com or your soul clearings or any of the other work you've done?
Oh, the soul care and everything. Everything was so, I felt every bit of I felt every bit of it. And every time that you did something for me, I just elevated a lot more. I've never been this happy. And God, I have never been this happy. And I just like to say I want a lot of people to go in and at least look at it and understand what it's about and try it. It's to change their life for good. Because
Well, I do want to ask you, are you calling us from Texas?
Yes, ma'am. I'm calling from Texas. We'll be there next week in Chicago.
All right, you are joining us in our Quantum Light Property Clearing Class Level 2 in Chicago. We're pre-recording this, so this will play after that. However, you're calling from Texas. I just wanted to let everyone know that when you got the DNA, this is on a teleconference, a group teleconference that broadcasts all over the world. And you do this in the comfort and the ease of your own home. Were you home when you did your DNA?
Yes, ma'am. I was at home and I was very comfortable. I mean, it was very enlightening. It was very enlightening.
And then I think also with your soul clearings, I know you work over the road as a truck driver. Is that correct?
I do local now. I've been doing local for about the last 2 years, 3 years now. So I enjoy it.
So you're a local driver. So when you got the additional recommended energy work done, you were able to do it from your home, even though we're located somewhere else. And that's really the point I wanted to make, is that one of the things that's nice about this is that you can do it in the privacy and the comfort of your own experience, and the work still takes place. As you were saying, you felt quite a bit of what was going on during the first and second and third soul clearing, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I really felt it. A lot of the things that took place inside of me I was vibrating a lot. I was feeling it. I mean, it was unbelievable. I really enjoyed it. And the one thing I liked about it, I can do it at home. I can be in my own privacy, and y'all can do it, I guess, from different locations. And it's very smooth, it's very nice, and it's very easy. It's nothing complicated or nothing hard. It's real easy.
Well, I'm so glad you called in. We so appreciate this, and we will be sharing this with the listening audience so those who are in the same situation can hear that there is relief. So thank you so much, Corey.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
And Lakesh, Corey.
And Lakesh.
Wow. Thank you again, Corey. That was beautiful. We are just about up with our time for today's show. However, I'd like to let everyone know and remind everyone that if you have any questions, interest in anything that we're doing, and you'd like to contact us, you can email us at laotaofthesun@gmail.com. That's laotaofthesun@gmail.com. Or you can visit our website at www.dnareplicate.com. We are excited. We have been doing for some time now quantum light clearing, property clearing classes. And we have 2 more scheduled soon. We have one on the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th in Florida that we have. And if you're interested, you can contact us for details. And one the 25th, 26th, and 27th in Atlanta, Georgia, available and open for all those who qualify, which you just have to be interested to qualify, and available to you. So we look forward to hearing from everyone, and hopefully we'll see some people in Florida and in Atlanta. All right. Thank you. And in Lakesh, have a great day.
In Lakesh, everyone.
Thank you for tuning into Transformation. Please join Lauta Rasul and Ahad Rasul for another edition of the program next Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America 7th Wave channel. Have a positive, life-changing week.